I got here in 1965. I just turned 21. Now, to where I began to know the gay community was one day I decided to go to a bar and have a beer between lunch break and my next class. So God and behold, I didn't know anything about gay people, nothing. I knew I was different. So I walked to this bar and I saw nothing but men in there. I thought, that's okay, no problem. And that's when I realized that was a gay bar. Because I was approached in a different manner, and it scared me at first, but then I let it be. From that day on, I went there every weekend, and I met beautiful people there, and that's where I started the gay life, the Mint Bar. At that time, it was word of mouth, and the bars were hush-hush. You would never know there were gay bars unless you walked into them. The lesbians didn't like the guys coming in their bar, and the guys didn't like the girls coming in their bar. So it was a hassle there. And I thought to myself, that's bullshit. I'm gonna go in that bar because I got green. Except my green, and if you don't, that's fine, I'll go somewhere else. So I decided to go to lesbian bars because I want to know people. I don't care what you were or what. So I met some girls there and they asked me, I said, you need a bartender. One of them says, well, this is a girls' bar. I don't care. I just want a job. And they said, well, can you bartend? Sure, I can bartend. I got a job. The worst experience I had with the police was one night, there were three of us walking on State Street going to the Mint Bar. We were partially in drag. We were on the corner on 6th by the MITC campus. There were two cars going west. And the out of the car, they were full of guys. And they ran towards us. And they started, hitting us. The other two queens ran. I stood there and I fought my way. I fought for my life. And then I ran to the Mint Bar. I got away from them. I ran to the Mint Bar. So I told the bartender to call the police. An hour and a half later, the police came. We reported it. And nothing was done about it. I was working at the factory. The bar was called the factory. And I also lived there. I lived upstairs. And I had to go downstairs to get something from the guy that was working in the desk. As I was going down there, I heard a commotion, and I peeked in that whole entrance to the bath was nothing but cops. Blue bellies, we called it at the time, blue bellies. I ran back upstairs, and it went to the whole fourth raid. I yelled out, raid, raid, raid. I kept yelling, raid, raid, raid. And then I knocked at every door. There was 122 rooms. I knocked at every door, raid, raid, get dressed, raid, raid, get dressed. Some didn't make it, get their clothes on. And they were put it against the wall, like the Germans did to the Jews. They did the same thing here. I hid a lot of them. I told them where to go. Don't come out until I come and get you. I took them in the basement because they didn't go down the basement. They went to the main bar and the bath. But they didn't go no farther, but I know how to get everywhere because I lived there for 5 years. So I hit a lot of people, very important people. And I was not scared because I really didn't give a shit about the police. I didn't care nothing about them. So At 6 o'clock in the morning, when everything was quiet, the police left. The news, oh my God, the news was there like real fast. And people were covering their faces and hiding their whatever. Because they didn't want the public to know they were gay. I didn't give a shit. I didn't care. So then at 6 o'clock in the morning, I went to the places where they were all hiding. Come on out. I didn't come out. But I said, stay in the bar. And I'll go outside and see, I'll walk around, see if I can see any police or anything. Nothing. And I said, you could all go. There was about 30 of them. At that time, you had to have 4 pieces of male clothing on your body to be in drag. And then another thing is you would use the bathrooms. At that time, you couldn't use the ladies' room. But the ladies' room had mirrors that men's didn't. So what we did, us girls, what we did to make sure that nothing would happen against us, we would put something at the door so people could see what we're doing. And there was a man sitting, they could see us, but he was sitting over there. He had white hair, gray hair, like, well, he was an undercover cop. And I got arrested for using that ladies' room. They're putting me in a paddy wagon. They were making really nasty remarks, and as well as hand movements in that. And I got, right there, that's when I knew the police department was nasty. I mean, they were nasty. I went to court in charge of, they had me for disorderly conduct, indecent exposure, which was not true. And the judge at the time, he was asking me questions, you know, why are you dressed in women's clothes? Why you do this? Why you do that? I said, because that's the way I feel. That's the way I want to be. And he says, do you harass anyone in that bar? I said, no. I went in there to check my makeup and my hair. Case dismissed. As far as, for me, the future in the gay community, I hope we get closer than ever because we need to get close to each other. We have to work together to make it better for the next, not the one that's coming out, but maybe for the next generation. Because the more we teach them what we went through or what we're going to go through again, because we're not done yet. There's more work to be done. If we want something done for us, we have to be educated and work together. That's all I can say.